If you're a man over 60 and you haven't had sex in a long time, you may have quietly wondered something. Does your body change because you're no longer sexually active? Does your testosterone drop? Do your erections disappear? Does your prostate suffer? Does your desire eventually go away? Or does your body simply adjust? Here's the truth. Stopping sex after 60 does not automatically damage your body. There is no medical rule saying every man must have sex a certain number of times to stay healthy. But something very important can happen when sexual activity disappears from your life. And it isn't necessarily what you think. Sometimes the biggest change isn't caused by the absence of sex itself, it's caused by why you stopped having sex in the first place. Maybe you lost interest. Maybe your relationship changed. Maybe you're dealing with stress. Maybe you're living alone. Maybe your erections aren't as reliable as they used to be. Or maybe you simply decided that sex isn't a priority anymore. Those situations are very different. So today, let's look at what can actually happen when you stop having sex after 60, what you shouldn't worry about, what you should pay attention to, and one mistake many older men make when they assume every sexual change is simply part of aging. Let's start with the biggest misconception. Your body doesn't suddenly become unhealthy because you're not having sex. There is no required amount of sex that every man over 60 needs to have to keep his body healthy. Some men remain sexually active well into their 60s, 70s, and beyond. Others become less sexually active. Some stop completely. And that doesn't automatically mean something is wrong. But here's where things get interesting. Sometimes losing sexual activity can be a signal that something else has changed. Imagine a man who used to have a strong sex drive. Then his sleep gets worse. He becomes less active. He gains weight. His blood pressure rises. His energy drops. His erections become weaker. Eventually, he stops having sex. He might say, "I'm just getting older." But what if aging isn't the whole explanation? What if his health changed first? That's why the reason you stopped having sex matters. Your sexual desire may change, but that doesn't mean you're broken. Some men notice that sex simply doesn't cross their mind as often after 60. Maybe their interest isn't as intense as it was when they were younger. Maybe they still want intimacy but don't feel the same physical drive. Some changes in sexual desire can happen with aging, but libido isn't controlled by age alone. Your sleep matters, your stress matters, your mood matters, your relationship matters, your medications matter, your overall health matters. Hormones can matter too. That's why two men who are both 65 can have completely different sex drives. One may still have a strong interest in sex. Another may have very little interest, and neither situation automatically tells you whether something is wrong. If you've stopped having sex and you're completely comfortable with that, you don't need to panic. But if your sexual desire suddenly disappeared and you don't understand why, that's different. A persistent change is worth paying attention to, especially if it happens alongside fatigue, mood changes, sleep problems, or other changes in your health. Now let's talk about erections. This is probably one of the biggest questions men have. If I stop having sex, will I eventually lose my ability to get an erection? Not necessarily. An erection is a complicated process. It involves blood vessels, nerves, hormones, the brain, psychological factors, and sexual stimulation. As men age, erections can naturally change. You may need more stimulation. They may take longer to develop. They may not be as firm as they were when they were younger, and spontaneous erections may become less frequent. But not having sex doesn't automatically mean your body has permanently forgotten how to have an erection. And there's another important point. If you stopped having sex because your erections became difficult, don't confuse the cause with the consequence. You might think, I stopped having sex and that's why my erections became weaker. But it could be the other way around. Your erections may have become weaker first, and that caused you to stop having sex. That distinction matters. Persistent erectile dysfunction can be associated with conditions such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, smoking, certain medications, obesity, sleep problems, and psychological factors. So if you've noticed a persistent change, don't automatically blame the lack of sexual activity. Find out what changed. Now let's talk about testosterone. You've probably heard claims that stopping sex causes testosterone to collapse, or maybe you've heard the opposite, that avoiding sex dramatically increases testosterone. Be careful with both claims. Your testosterone level isn't controlled simply by whether you had sex this week. Hormones are influenced by many factors, including age, sleep, body composition, overall health, medications, and certain medical conditions. So if you stop sex, don't assume your testosterone has suddenly disappeared. And don't assume having more sex will automatically fix low testosterone either. If you're experiencing persistent low sexual desire, unusual fatigue, reduced strength, or other changes that concern you, talk to a healthcare professional. The goal is to understand the cause instead of guessing. Now we're getting to something many health videos overlook. Sex isn't only about erections or ejaculation. For many people, sexual intimacy is also connected with affection, closeness, touch, companionship, and emotional connection. So when sex disappears from a relationship, the bigger issue may sometimes be the loss of intimacy. You might miss physical affection. You might feel less connected to your partner. Or if you're living alone, you might experience more loneliness. But here's an important distinction. Sex is not the only way to experience intimacy. Holding hands, hugging, talking, spending time together, touching your partner affectionately, sharing experiences, these can all contribute to connection. So if you've stopped having sex, you don't necessarily have to start having intercourse again to improve your emotional well-being. Instead, ask yourself, am I missing sex or am I missing connection? That question can reveal a lot. Now let's talk about physical health. Sexual health is connected to your overall health. That doesn't mean you need sex as a form of exercise. You don't. But staying physically active is important as you age. Walking, strength training, balance exercises, mobility work, maintaining a healthy weight, taking care of your cardiovascular system, these habits support the body systems that also contribute to sexual function. You don't need an extreme workout. You don't need to spend 2 hours in a gym. If you're able to exercise safely, even regular walking can be a useful place to start. If you've been sitting for hours, get up, move around. Take a walk after a meal. Use the stairs when appropriate. Stay active. Your body doesn't need to stop moving because you're over 60. Now let's address another common myth. Your prostate doesn't automatically become unhealthy because you're not having sex. You may hear people claim that men must ejaculate regularly or their prostate will be blocked. That's an oversimplification. Not having sex doesn't mean your prostate is automatically becoming unhealthy. But prostate health does become increasingly important as men age. So rather than obsessing over how often you have sex, pay attention to actual symptoms. Are you having difficulty starting urination? Has your urine stream become noticeably weaker? Are you waking up repeatedly at night to urinate? Do you have persistent pain? Have you noticed blood in your urine or semen? If you experience persistent or concerning symptoms, talk to a healthcare professional. Don't try to diagnose yourself based on how often you're sexually active. Now comes the part I really want you to remember. The biggest issue may not be that you stopped having sex. It may be why you stopped. Suppose you're 67 and you haven't had sex for 2 years. Should you panic? No. But ask yourself why. Did you choose to stop or did something change? Maybe you're no longer in a relationship. Maybe your priorities changed. Maybe you simply don't feel interested anymore. That's one situation. But what if you stopped because your erections became unreliable? What if your desire suddenly disappeared? What if you're constantly exhausted? You've gained significant weight. Your mood has changed. Your sleep has become terrible. You're taking new medications or you've developed other health problems. That's different. In that situation, the absence of sex may not be the main issue. It may be a clue. And this is why I don't want men over 60 to simply say, that's just aging. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Now here's something else that's important. You don't need to force yourself to have sex. There are men who become anxious because they haven't had sex for months or years. They think, I need to start having sex again or something bad will happen. That's not the message. You don't need to force sexual activity because you're over 60. If you're happy with your current life and aren't experiencing concerning symptoms, there may be nothing you need to fix. Sexual activity is personal.
Your frequency can change throughout life. Your priorities can change. Your relationships can change. Your body can change. That's part of being human. The goal isn't to prove that you're still 25. The goal is to stay healthy, connected, and comfortable in your own body. But if you still want sex and something has changed, don't ignore it. Maybe you still want intimacy, maybe you still want sexual activity, but your body isn't responding the way it used to. You have difficulty getting an erection, you can't maintain one, your desire has dropped significantly, or something about your sexual function has changed and stayed changed. Don't automatically accept that as the price of getting older. One bad night isn't necessarily a problem. Stress happens, fatigue happens. Alcohol can affect sexual performance. Relationship problems can affect it. But persistent changes deserve attention. You can tell your doctor,